Man, it's so bright. Ooh. Alright. Demon Hood, what's good? Alright, I'm here with First Lady Tosha Mac.
Niggas walking up and it's just me. Now it's just 3. Now it's just 2. Now it's just me.
I pulled up, fuck with your boy. Tell people, how'd you get into this whole Facebook public personality type thing? And just a little information on yourself, before we get into the subject matter.
So my name is the First Lady Tosha Mac. Really, personally, I think I'm just a people person. Like, I can strike up a conversation with anybody, anywhere, pumping gas, taking out the trash, checking the mail, just like anywhere I go, I can literally start up a conversation. So talking was pretty much a natural for me.
Good trait to have. Good trait to have.
It's pretty much a natural for me. So it was easy for me to do. I started off actually on radio. Take that back. I started off in school, Cameron University. So I was going for public relations with a minor in radio and television. So I was like, I'm going to go get this job at the radio station, and when I graduate, it's just going to look so much better for me.
Yeah, I tried to get it.
That's what I did.
Tried to go to the radio station to get that, but they never called me back. So it's alright though. I like YouTube better anyway than radio.
So that's actually where I started off at that radio station, that particular radio station. I started there in 2014. So, and people actually think I worked there for a long time, and I actually didn't. I worked there and I established a name for myself. From that name, I branched off into the community seriously. Like, not just when people came up to the radio station.
Yeah.
I was actually going to these events. I was, networking with people. I was going to Oklahoma City, going out of town. Like, it was just like, I was actually doing things. So it was like natural for me to just
solidifying your public personality. Okay.
So it's 2022, and we got to learn to blame ourselves first. And I don't think a lot of people blame themselves first or hold themselves accountable for a lot of different things. And then you have to know the difference, and you actually have to be open to what's really going on in your life. So
something like accountability in a way.
Right. So although I do live alone with my children, I'm not a single parent. I'm a single woman. And that's a big difference. And at first, we have to be able to know the difference to be able to know how to understand the situation better.
Okay.
Because the father ain't there don't mean he's not in their life. It don't mean that his word ain't golden. Don't mean that when I say I'll call your daddy, things don't get right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's the thing for a lot of them, they don't have access to the father of their child.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I have access, but we do what we have to do to make things work. Now, my daughter's dad, my daughter's 15. She's about to be 16 in 2 months. Her whole life, she's probably seen her dad 3 months out of jail. So he got locked up a month before I had her. Then he got out when she was like maybe 3. He stayed out for 6 months, and he got locked back up, and he's been locked back up ever since. But she knows she has a father, and we still make it work.
Okay.
It is hard. Those drives are long. It's like a 12-hour drive just to go see them. But we make those trips.
If not even so much the fathers are with the mothers and more, not so much that the fathers are with the mothers, but if you think that because right now it says that 70%, let's just take the black community, 70% of the black community are in single mother households. Do you think the culture and the way that black people treat each other and the way we interact with each other would be different if the fathers were active in those kids' lives?
Oh, active in their lives?
Yeah.
Yeah. But first and foremost, we got to address the line of the statistics. It's not 70%, but that's what the statistics is going to say. Because we all know It's a man somewhere playing daddy, playing uncle, playing this.
But see, a lot, especially a lot of guys that watch me, you know, a lot of them are in the mindset that even with being a stepfather, like, that's something that nowadays a lot of men are opting out of because there's no benefit to it.
Well, first and foremost, the benefit is the marriage. I have a stepfather, and he's amazing. Like, to this day, my kids know him as grandpa. And him and my mom got divorced in 97. But even after they got divorced and they separated and moved on, and he lived in one house, she lived in one house, he still did what he did because he married my mom.
Okay.
So when my mom and my stepdad got together, I was maybe 5. When they separated, I was maybe 13. That's really not a long period of time, but he's a real stand-up man. Mm-hmm. So when he made that choice to marry my mom and create a bond in a relationship with us, he wasn't going to let us down just because things between him and my mom didn't work out.
Okay.
I actually credit him to a lot of the mindfulness that I have today towards my relationships.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up because now I'm in the mindset, if, like, say, like, there's a lot of guys out there that's willing to do that, play, you know, stepdaddy and take on responsibilities and stuff when they get with a woman. If that's happening at an exponential rate,
that's because people out here dating without a purpose.
Well, here's the question in it.
Y'all don't even know what y'all doing together, but y'all done moved in together. And now you playing stepdad, but y'all still don't know what y'all doing together.
Okay. Well, and see, and that's the thing, that unknown part, that's the part I was trying to get, is that, do you think that if this keeps going on the way it is, at the rate that it is, do you think that, is it really making women be more accountable of the choices that they make?
So to that question, there's really no right or wrong answer because it's situational and everybody's situation is different.
Understandable, yeah. And I understand there's always going to be like different situations and outliers.
Right.
But when you look at the general
let me just say this. I don't do the fighting. We not finna fight. We not finna argue. I'm not finna call you and ask you for shit. Kids need. We all know kids need. We all know kids age, and we all know they want different things at different ages. I'm not gonna ask you for shit. I'm not gonna argue with you. But I'm gonna raise my kids. My kids gonna smile. They don't want for shit. They got good grades, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, because I have a son, I did know that it was important for him to have a relationship with his father. But it had to happen. It took for both of us to actually grow up in a situation for it to actually happen. Because at first we were both childish. He was so mad that I left, he didn't want help. And my pride wasn't going to let me at you. Nigga, I'm going to handle my business and shine on your ass. You see us when you see us.
So I guess that's like really the crux of where I'm trying to get is like, do you think that overall kids that grow up with their father not so much present in their life are automatically going to suffer negative attributes?
No.
More than those who were born with two parents in the household?
No, because nowadays a lot of people are just together because they have kids. But what goes on behind them closed doors is more mentally toxic to those kids versus the parents just being amicable and separated. Then it's all about structuring your household. Like my kids know. We ain't gonna do no bad grades, we not fighting. Neither one of my kids have ever been sent home from school, ISS, detention, none of that.
Mm-hmm.
But me, myself,
yeah,
as a young child, I couldn't wait till I turned 16 and dropped out. I fought every week, and every time I went back to school, I got in a fight that same day. I was hell. But my kids are not that, and this is a one-parent household.
And see, I be thinking about my school days back when I was in high school, middle school, junior high, and I remember how much hell I used to cause in school, and I just think to myself, like, if it was just my mother raising me, right? Like, her dealing with everything that I had going on.
Not only that, everything that she had going on too.
Well, that's the thing.
But we didn't think about that though.
Well, that's the thing. And that's like kind of the part where a lot of, I say, women don't really like, is that you can't ask nobody to really care about how you're feeling in a situation that you kind of put yourself in. You know what I'm saying? So for my mother, if she would have had me and not married my dad, right, she would have to put up with all the mess that I would have did anyway without my dad. Now, luckily, my dad was there.
Now, maybe you may not know that, though.
Well,
because you may have been mindful of all the things that your mama was going through, depending on how y'all's relationship was and how she sat you down and talked to you. And you wouldn't have did those because you would have understood she was there by herself doing the best she could. So, that's what I didn't understand. When my mama and my stepdad separated and my mom just automatically left the house. She didn't talk to us. I didn't know what was going on. I just felt abandoned. I felt like for a long time, I felt like my mom had given up on me. So I acted out because nobody was there, nobody cared, woo. But in all actuality, I was so...
Do you think you would have did better if
she would have sat down? No, I wouldn't have. No.
You sure? Because I think to this day, if my father wasn't there in my life the way he was, I would be in jail today. Like, I wouldn't even made it.
So it's all about mindfulness.
You know what I'm saying?
And I feel like I used to fuck up a lot because nobody set me down. Nobody talked to me. Everybody was like, you're a child, stay in a child's place. So I talk to my kids. I tell them what's going on. I show them things. I don't tell them you're a child, stay in a child's place. I have deep conversations. I have hard conversations with my kids. My son is a young black athlete who is surrounded by people who are unrelatable to him in his image. But to be able to stand up and be the leader year after year after year after year because of the solid foundation you got at home. And it didn't come from the mama and the daddy, because when the mama and the daddy was together, we did not fight, and it was bad. So my kids growing up in that, honestly, I left because I didn't want them to grow up in that, because I didn't want my daughter to think that this was normal, and you don't love me unless you hitting on me, because you got women and men out here like this now. They don't feel loved unless it's toxic. And then I didn't want my son to lose respect for me as a woman. And I didn't.
Most of the time, people get together, it's because they was attracted to each other when they saw each other. And eventually, they got to a bond of some sort. No matter what the bond is, a lot of times these bonds are going to extinguish themselves. Like, the passion for it is going to eventually run out. The difference between us now and the generations beforehand, that because a lot of people, be like, well, how did people back then last for 70, 80 years married? It's because in the end of it all, it really wasn't about love. Most of them got married and stayed together because of duty and responsibility to each other. And I feel like those bonds are way stronger than any love. The way I tell the mother of my son, even if we get older and we run out of love for each other, we got that much respect for each other that we can make this shit motherfucking work. And we're not on no crazy shit. Because when I prioritize an emotional state like love in a relationship, most men are not emotionally oriented or logically oriented, while most women are emotionally oriented. That's why y'all more in tune with how y'all feel, and most niggas are not really in tune. Most niggas try to keep that shit in.
But why do y'all try to keep that in?
Well, it's because we're built to...
Are you built or are you trained?
Well, we're built to be hard workers, to fight wars, to protect the town. You know,
trained.
Well, we're born bigger. We grow now. Even if, like, you take a male and a female and none of them train, the male will grow bigger regardless anyway. A bigger bone structure, more muscles in his body, because he's naturally evolved to be out in the wilderness or to be hunting or to be fighting something or to protect something, which is most time you hear is man's roles, to protect and provide. Well, niggas back then protected and provided by protecting the town or village and going out there and providing meat from the things that they hunted, you know? So I would say, now, so far as trained, yes, boys still have to be trained. And this is the whole thing that comes around to is that, yes, boys have to be trained. But I argue, and a lot of men are arguing, that it only is men that can train men to be men.
I wouldn't argue that at all.
But
that doesn't mean that a woman can't raise a son on her own, you know.
But how is he supposed to mature into that? Because a lot of times, and a lot of boys don't say this, especially to their mothers.
Because everybody dad ain't good.
Well, that's the thing.
You happen to luck up on one of the good ones. Some of these niggas really ain't shit and really can't teach a little boy shit but to be not shit.
Well, that's the thing. Boys, just like how I told you, nature has developed men to be built differently. In a boy's psyche, he will automatically, at a certain age, that's why boys are really rebellious at a certain age to their mothers, because it's not because that they're a bad individual. It's because that their mind is now set to look for somebody who's going to usher them into the next stage of their life. Because naturally, if we was back then, it's life or death.
Everybody in your family ain't blood, right? So just because he's not your father doesn't mean that he can't teach you the aspects of how to be a man.
Exactly, and that's why I say that they will naturally go find, and it'll be their coach. It'll be.
I go out of my way to make sure that my son is surrounded by great men in his image doing great things. So my son has been playing soccer since we moved back to Lawton, 2013, right? And he was getting to a point where he was getting real good, and he's great, he's amazing, right? So I changed his whole entire routine to align it with positive role models in his image, doing great things. His coach from now at the high school and on the competitive is African American. Marcus Williams, he's black. Great man, doing great things. And I did that so my son can have somebody in this field that he can go to, because everybody around him in that field is not necessarily for him. So this is coach. They train and practice, boom, bam, boom. His trainer, because we do more than practice. We practice on practice days, but we train. Ronaldo Sterling, DJ Sterling. Great man, doing great things. He's in the military, and he also plays soccer in the military.
Okay.
Great man, he doing great things. Like I lined my son up with good men. And then just because me and his dad aren't together, he can always call him. I do things, little things, to go out of my way to show my son that we're not together, but we can still parent together. My son is 13. Yeah, he started working over the summer. He got his referee's license. He officially a referee. So on his first full day of work, where he did 5 games in a row, his dad drove 6 hours away just to pick him up from his first day of work. Did he understand it in that moment? No. Do he understand it now? No. But when he get older, he's going to understand it. Yeah, it was important.
And now that's a good thing. And like I said, I never said there wasn't outliers. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the way you're doing it, you are an outlier to the general mass. Because the general mass, most of those boys, they don't have what you are giving your son. They don't have. Only niggas that they have around is the men that their mothers bring around.
When we was together, I didn't have that either. I didn't have that. And it wasn't because of him. It was because I didn't have that. And I wasn't going to tell somebody I don't know. And that's really what's wrong. We want to go, we'll do all the fucked up shit. That's cool, that's dandy. But when it comes down to the serious part of it, and now I don't have a problem saying I don't know, I need help, can you help me? But at first, I had a huge problem with it. I could not admit that I didn't know. Because I'm like, I'm a grown woman. How am I going to tell somebody I don't know this?
I'm saying, I guess all around.
But I had to grow up. I had to grow up a lot.
And that's all it really takes is just for a little time and knowledge. But at the same time, I feel like that.
But I grew up fucked up too, though. And I'm not ashamed of that. Even though I grew up fucked up, and a lot of fucked up shit happened.
Well, see,
it taught me a lot.
That's the part that, that's the part that I really try to fix. Is that even though shit has happened, there's always solutions.
I didn't want my kids to be like me. Like I did. It was not in their cards. You know what I'm saying? I didn't go back. And I told you, before we got on here, I told you I dropped out of school the day I turned 16. I wasn't going back. Nobody questioned why. Nobody told me to go back. Nobody did shit.
You see the studies that show that and when you said that you dropped out, see, it shows that between the double parent household and the single parent household, the chances of a kid drop out is 6 times higher. The chance of a kid in a single parent household going to jail is 9 times higher.
But I dropped out not because I didn't want to go to school. I dropped out because people kept fucking with me. Because I was a cheerleader, and because I did make good grades, and because I did want to be that girl at first. I wanted to be that smart black girl. That was it for me, baby. Even though I was from the hood, I wanted to be the smartest bitch in the hood. You couldn't.
And see,
that's what I wanted.
That's what I argue is that if men actually was back in the place of head of their family. See, we just had a school not but a month ago had a widespread fighting epidemic. Every day fighting, kids picking up the kids, just like how your situation was. Motherfuckers messing with you until eventually you dropped out.
That's why.
These men, about 50 of them, got together. These dads that has kids at the
Great
school.
dads.
They go up there.
That's what it's called or something like that.
Yeah. They
I
go
exactly
up there. And they patrol 2 dads a day. They take turns. And the fighting has ceased.
Yeah,
it has completely stopped.
That has nothing to do with the parents being in the household. That has everything to do with these kids know that they are being held accountable for something.
But doesn't that show you that's like simply saying that? But doesn't that
check the school out, because you got to
prove-
check out the statistics of that particular school and those teachers and how much they really care about those students.
I'm pretty sure they
Because
care
I
just as
got
much
some
as every other
teachers
school.
here in Lawton, Oklahoma that have said some out of the way things to my daughter, and they don't even know her like that because of her appearance. But see, my thing is, my daughter make good grades. She go to school. She do her chores. She do this. She do that. So she want to dye her hair. Fuck it, let's dye it. It ain't weaved out. You know what I'm saying? You want to dye? Let's dye it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to get a piercing? Okay, let's get you a piercing. If you want to dress a certain way, let's do it.
I guess what I'm arguing with overall is that men are desperately needed for the healthy development of the next generation.
Men have always been desperately needed, but the thing is, do they know how much they're needed?
Oh yeah.
Because it's like.
But see, because here's the thing with a lot of times, a lot of these kids when they don't, and I'm gonna tell you, a lot of these boys when they don't have a role model at home to look up to or anybody else positive, a lot of times.
And nobody holding them accountable and no guidance.
Exactly.
Because with no accountability and no guidance, that's the recipe for hell right there.
Well, see, here's the thing. A lot of these boys are looking to the next best thing, which is what they see on their social media and TV, which is a lot of rappers, a lot of athletes.
But you have to sit there and admit to yourself that even though these boys are turning to these rappers and these athletes and these actors and these people that they see, that they're only seeing one-sided stories, because even those people have problems.
Yeah, but they're kids, so that's all they see is the glamour. You wouldn't expect a child to see anything deeper than how we would see it. So all they see, you would
expect them to see it. You wouldn't expect them to understand it.
Exactly.
What they see and what they understand is two different things.
And that's what I'm saying. I would argue that with men's logical ability around, especially when it comes to kids, that we're able to teach them the difference on that. Because a lot of times they will glamorize that. And what do we have now? We got communities that are constantly killing each other left and right. No one out here is killing black boys more than other black boys. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that with the high intensity, violent, and over-sexualized nature that they portray a lot of famous black men to a whole population. Like I said, there are outliers. Like you say, your son, you have male role models and his dad is still in his life. But most boys, especially black boys, don't have that. So they look to the next best thing, and now our communities are literally looking like,
or they do have that and they don't want to recognize it because it's not shining bright. It's this chain and this money and these bitches.
But I would argue someone who's in your household or you live with has way more influence on you than what any TV or social media does.
To a certain extent, because you got to think about when you're saying someone living with you, what does that mean? Because the reason why I acted out as a child, because although my mother did pay the bills in the house, when her and my dad separated, she had to go back to work. So no one was
Which gave her less time to be with you.
Right.
So wouldn't you say that with a man actually still in that position to give your mother the time she needed to spend time with you, so you didn't drop
No, because she should have just handled her business when she was supposed to be handling her business. And then she would have been right on time when they separated, whether they was together or not. She would have just been able to pick it up and keep moving. But my mom didn't handle her business when she was supposed to handle her business. She didn't handle her business till they separated.
Well, see, that's where a lot of...
Because she was a stay-at-home mom.
Well, see, that's what I'm starting to hear. A lot of single mothers are they're having to hustle all the time to keep things afloat or to get ahead a little bit or saving money. And all it does really is just take time away from the child. And when that child, especially with boys, when they don't get that nurture that they're supposed to get when they're younger, because I see a lot, I've seen it more times than it makes me comfortable, how a lot of especially young mothers, they'll get frustrated with their son. That's why I make sure I try to go get my sons as much as I can, because I don't want, because a lot of times, a lot of kids already grow up feeling unloved because their mother's just it's so, I guess, they're so in tune with that hustle that once they get home, that aggressive mind state is still there. So when a lot of times the kids get dealt with, they're dealt with in this aggressive nature. Well, if it's just the mother and she got that aggressive nature for discipline and stuff, who's nurturing? Who's being, who's giving that, I guess, that loving, soft support? Because really, me as the man, I'm supposed to be the disciplinary hard ass, while the mother, because it's a yin and yang balance for the child.
Okay, so like although it is a yin and yang balance, it is also a mentality. Because one thing I can say, a lot of people who grew up in the early 90s, you agree that sometimes your parents just didn't tell you that they loved you, and it left you feeling a certain way. Some people never got hugs. I was one of those people. My mama didn't never tell me she loved me. She ain't never hugged me and shit. But as a mother now, I'm a smotherer, because you cannot spell smother without mother. It's in there. M-O-T-H-E-R. It's in there. It is in there. So, but at the same time, I love my kids differently. Me and my mom, we didn't start forming our relationship until I was 23.
So would you say relationships are formed when people spend time with each other?
I would say relationships are...
Because the only thing I'm advocating
I'm a bond with my children, and it's deeper than a relationship. And outside of that, I'll be the first to tell you, I work hard as shit. My kids have seen me go 36 hours in a row. But you better believe they got 36 I love yous and 36 hugs and 36,
Mm-hmm.
My kids literally, and people don't understand this, have literally been to every job. When I left my son's dad, I literally was working. I hadn't worked in a few years myself, but I was working I did 2 jobs, and I was working from 6 in the morning to 1:45 in the afternoon, and the other job I was working from 1:45 in the afternoon to 10 o'clock at night. And I was putting my kids, at that time I was putting my daughter through private school on 2 minimum wage jobs. She was hard as hell. I worked 6 days a motherfucking week. But it's all about how you want to make it work, right? My kids ate breakfast with me every morning. Yeah, it was at the job, but the precedent was set. You didn't have to wait till you went to school. And the thing is, I worked at 2 different restaurants, so I made you your breakfast in the morning. So before you went to school, and then a support system is everything. I always, because I always talk to people, so I can form relationships with people, I form bonds with people, and once you're in my life, you're never out of it. We're just intertwined for life. So people would help me because they knew what was going on. They knew it was just me. So somebody would come pick them up after breakfast, take them to school. As a matter of fact, it was my daughter's teacher who did it. And I appreciate her sharing pace. She's no longer here with us because she passed 2 years ago. But she would come pick both of the kids up from the restaurant, take my son, because the daycare was right next door. So she would drop him off the daycare, and my daughter would go to school. And then after school, she would go to cheerleading practice. She would drop them off, and my second job was at the Waffle House. So she would drop them off at the Waffle House. The kids would sit there, they would eat, they would do their homework. She would come back and pick them up at night. We didn't live too far from each other. They would go home, take a bath and stuff, and then I was right there. So, it's just really about how I wanted to make it work, because I had the option to do what was done to me and just leave my kids at home all day by themselves to fend for themselves.
See, and a lot of times when I hear these stories, I just think to myself, with all that hard work and all that You put the into
when I first started at the radio
station. Wouldn't it be easier if a man was there?
No, because you gotta think about it. My daughter's dad was addicted to selling dope.
Okay, well, we gotta, cause here's the thing, we gotta stop using it. We gotta, cause here's the thing, like I said, there are outliers, but it's like, there's so many guys out here that are suitable. Like there's nothing extreme about them. At the same time, I feel like a lot of times it's just that I feel like when we're young, we just make dumb decisions. You may have made a character, there's a slight character misjudge of character.
It was no misjudge of character. No, there was no misjudge of character. I wasn't there yet. Like, mentally, I was fucked up for a long time. I had a rough childhood. So when I met him, he was right. He was aligned with what I had going on. But the thing was, I had to grow out of what I had grown on to understand that I wasn't aligned properly myself.
But then here's the thing that I guess a lot of guys get, I guess, when it comes to all that, like, even if, like, you was in a bad situation, you got out of it, you know, you start doing your own thing and all that, are you still asking, or any woman for that matter, still asking for the, I guess, same, like, I guess the question is, because it's there, I guess for really is for everyone, do you want a man in the end?
Of course we want a man.
So
there's honestly no woman who's going to sit here and say, no, I don't want a man, I'm independent, I can be by myself, I can use these toys. No one really wants that. But if it happens to be that, fuck it, why complain? Do what you gotta do.
But and to that I would say, well, what about, I guess so much is, like, who.
And it also depends on the female. Because every female,
like, I would say me,
some females gotta be with somebody, no matter who it is. Like, they'll put their kids through hell just to be with a man. I didn't want to be one of those females.
I said a lot of times, you mean put their kids through hell?
Yeah, because you know, when you don't have a certain understanding with your kids, they don't tell you what they think. They don't respond to the questions you ask them. Kids be thinking some deep ass shit these days. And when I say put these kids through hell, yeah, because they gotta adjust every fucking month to a new nigga. That's hell.
Now, see, do you think it's somewhat, I guess, the responsibility of the mother to actually find one person instead of changing her mind? Because I would say,
hell no. Number one, you shouldn't even let no motherfucker meet your kids until you are there. Because that's one thing. Okay, so not even single motherhood. When you're a single parent, kids get attached quickly. I'm not gonna let my kids get attached to you, and there's no guarantee you're gonna be here next week. Then that's another rift that me and my child got because you no longer come around. But the child is a child, so they not gonna say, I'm mad because so-and-so don't come around no more. They don't know to say that. They just know that they have emotions that they don't know how to deal with.
Well, see, from a lot of guys' standpoint, yeah, kids get attached.
Quickly.
But once them kids get older and they understand the severity of the situation, most kids in that situation don't have no respect for that man regardless. And a lot of times it's from the simple fact that the mother don't allow the man to be seen as the person in charge. You know what I'm saying? It's because
it's situational. Because women naturally submit to a man who they feel protected with. If we don't feel safe, secure, and protected, it's hard for me to submit because I gotta stay guarded. And if I gotta stay guarded, and I gotta guard everything behind me, Well, nigga, fall in line. I gotta guard your weak ass tip. But if you make me feel safe and secure and loved, and you let me have that vulnerable moment where I could let my guard down, I'll probably love you for life and eternity after that.
So we're providing all that, then what are we getting in return for that? It seems like a lot
the same thing in return. But see, this is the thing. A lot of people go into things not knowing what they actually get into.
Well,
we on two different pages.
Exactly.
I'm a single woman with kids, and I want a husband. You a single lustful man, and you want to sleep with me. That shit is the recipe for disaster.
Well, I will argue every man wants to sleep with almost 9. We're built
naturally.
Men are built to want to fuck 98% of women. They
naturally, and we as women, single mothers, parents, we gotta learn how to weed y'all out. Cause shit, next week when you're not around, I don't need to be thinking about what the fuck, why you did this shit. No, I don't need none of that shit. I don't need to carry the fuck on.
I don't know. A lot of relationships to me seem to end. A lot of single mothers end up being in our spot because they get rid of a nigga.
But then check this out though.
Because he slept with another woman.
Relationships aren't what they used to be. And I get to see that more and more and more. And I don't really talk about my relationship much because I don't want it to turn into what society has made relationships turn into. So one thing I've noticed is that people be in competitionships. They don't be in relationships. They be in competition with their mate. Or they be in supportlesships where you have hopes and dreams and your mate doesn't support it, or vice versa. And then another thing,
I think
they be in lustships where we have nothing outside of sex. We can't even hold a conversation about something simple. But the sex is good, so we're gonna keep fucking around, then bam, I'm pregnant. Then bam. What do we do now?
Well, that's the thing. You can't say like bam, pregnancy, like it just came out of nowhere.
Sometimes it does.
If you're having sex, then you would expect that there's a chance to get pregnant. I tell guys and women all the time, if you don't want to have no kids, don't be just having sex. And even if you do, take take precautions, because a lot of times
that shit don't work.
Well, like I said,
passionate moments. You ain't think about no damn condom. You ain't think about no protection. You ain't think about none of that.
But like my grandmama always said, no matter how you feel, alright, you should always be accountable of your actions.
Put it on my way. all 한 일을 써 all 한 일을 써 사랑을 갈구해 랩으로 빡치는 건 나 랩으로 얘기해 막 사는 걸 자랑을 하는 래퍼들 얘기는 no all 한 일을 써 현실을 도피해 랩으로 바쁘다